we're gonna hit record. I found the button. Okay. We're gonna let people start trickling in because I know it's a Friday before the holidays, things come up, but gonna go ahead and kick it off so that way we can respect all your time. But welcome everybody to our December Lunch and Learn Holiday Break, Surviving and Thriving with Debbie Reber. My name is Olga Marable. For all the new folks out there, I am the Director of Outreach with Fusion Academy. I support our DC, Virginia, Maryland campuses. So that includes Loudoun, Alexandria, Tysons, Reston, DC, Rockville, and Columbia. For those of you who are not familiar with Fusion, we are a private school, 6th through 12th grade, so middle school, high school. We specialize in one-to-one education. We have our famous homework cafe where students do their homework at school and have that time built in for that social building. We are nationwide as well. So we have 60 plus campuses nationwide. We support kids who are coming to us for full-time schooling, part-time schooling, and tutoring. We also offer rolling admissions. So that means you do not have to wait just for the fall to enroll. We had students who started their semester literally this Monday. We have kids starting their semester in January or March. And so definitely never hesitate to reach out to see if we can support your student. A little housekeeping. So we are recording this. So please note that if you are uncomfortable having your camera on, you're welcome to turn it off, but we do encourage you to turn it on because there's going to be a lot of great engagement going on. Do keep yourself muted during the presentation unless we open it up for Q&A, just so we're not distracting the speaker. Also, please rename yourself if you can, so that way if you ask a question or we need to address you, we're addressing you by the correct name. The chat is going to remain open. I'm going to keep it open for you guys to collaborate and network. So please feel free to put in your personal information in there if you have a service you want people to utilize or you have resources you want to share that are relevant to the discussion. Debbie will not be moderating the chat throughout the entire presentation, but she will pause for certain Q&A sections. But do feel free to ask questions at any point. I'm going to hold on to them and then bring them up in order when we get to that Q&A. Also, feel free to private chat me or direct message me if you want to. There will be Q&A throughout, but also at the end, there'll be a Q&A section. Just keep in mind that there are a lot of people on this call today, so make sure your questions are appropriate and not too personal. All right, so I want to do a quick icebreaker. I always love to see who we have in this room so we can get to know each other a little bit. So if you can utilize the chat, put your name, if you are a professional, the company you work for and your title, your contact information if you want people to reach you. But here's the fun part. I want you to add a unique family tradition for the holidays. So for my family, we do a activity advent calendar. I got a little creative and used one of those like 3-sided cardboards, and every day my kids pull an activity that we do. And some days it's gonna be as small as eat a candy cane or dance to Christmas music. Today we are going to the store where there's the Salvation Army like bucket, and we are donating money to teach about giving. Yesterday we watched the Polar Express and drank hot cocoa, and that was dinner. It was easy for me. So it's really fun because every morning my 5-year-old, he runs to the activity calendar after finding our scout elf, and he sees what activity we're doing today. So it's a lot of fun. Go ahead and put in the chat what yours is, and I will read them out too. So it goes your name. I'm trying to type and talk. Ah, they're coming in. Yes, thanks guys. Thanks for adding these. Jennifer, you do stockings on St. Nicholas Day, December 6th. The kids enjoy getting some small gifts early, especially things like Christmas socks that they can wear the whole season. Oh, that's cute. Jill, happy you're here too. We play minute to win it games on Christmas Eve. That sounds like a lot of fun. I love that. Hi, Elizabeth. We make crafts together and give them to the neighbors and friends. Oh, that's a great idea. We're doing all the cookie baking this weekend too to give to our neighbors. I love that. Carmen, my one holiday tradition is going out in DC area with my fiance to hand out food, water, coats, sleeping bags to the homeless. Bless your heart. That is really amazing. That is rather magical. Donovan, welcome. We open gifts late at night on Christmas Eve. That's great. Katie, kids love making gingerbread houses together. That's fun. It's fun. We're making those tomorrow. And I have to make the dough tonight and refrigerate it overnight. I'm glad I remembered. I hope I stick to it because that would be a disaster if I forgot. Hi, Claire. Hi, Alexandra. Oh, these are really cute. Thanks for sharing, guys. Keep throwing them into the chat. Thanks for sharing your family traditions. Maybe it'll give somebody in here an idea too on something new to do and try out. So today's speaker is Debbie Reber. She's a parenting activist, New York Times bestselling author, keynote speaker, and the founder of Tilt Parenting, which is a top podcast community and educational resource for parents raising differently wired children. She's also a fusion parent, just plugging that. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Debbie. Really looking forward to hearing this presentation and learning how I'm going to survive the holiday break as well.
Okay, sorry, I was admitting someone and trying to unmute at the same time. Thank you so much for inviting me, Olga, to do this. I love having this conversation, and I did try to kind of tweak it to make it relevant so everyone here will get something out of it, because the holidays can be tricky for so many of us. And yeah, so as Olga said, my name's Debbie. Tilt Parenting is kind of my thing, which I created to support parents raising neurodivergent kids. And I have a 17-year-old who is in their third year at Fusion in Brooklyn. And we just have had such an incredible experience. So I'm so grateful for this community. And so I was especially happy to do this chat. So I wanted to just ask a question before I get started. Did you come to this conversation with a question in mind or a goal? So if you have something that you're maybe worried about or concerned about or hoping to get out of this, would you mind just popping it in the chat? I would love to just have a sense of what brought you here. And as I was saying, I think breaks can be so tricky for so many of us, especially, you know, those of us parenting any child and then parenting a differently wired child, supporting differently families with differently wired kids. And this is something I think it's important to be really intentional about this time of year. And what I'm going to share, all of these things I came up with because I was telling this to Olga before we opened the room, but I was that parent who just dreaded breaks so much. I was looking at all the camps, like how can I, get this kid signed up to kind of cover the time, because it was intense when my child was home. And I remember the year that my child was maybe 6 and I had found this great little art camp in the neighborhood. And like the first afternoon, it was a whole week. And the first afternoon I went to pick Asher up, I was pulled aside, oh, can I talk to you? Pulled out in the hallway. This isn't going to work. Your child wasn't following instructions, X, Y, Z, all these reasons. And so suddenly this whole week, I was like, oh my gosh, my whole week was just up in flames. All the plans I had, everything I wanted to get done that week. And so that really forced me. First of all, I did write a strongly worded letter to that art camp, just so we're clear, because I was not happy with how they handled that situation. But, we did survive that week. And in part, it was because I came up with some strategies, some of which I'm going to share with you today. And also, then for many years between that time and before we started with Fusion in 9th grade, I homeschooled. And so it became really important for me to be intentional about breaks and how to really structure unstructured times so that our whole family could thrive, so that I could stay in a good, positive mental state and take take care of the well-being of our whole family. So these are strategies to help us plan and be intentional. I also just want to say, you know, life happens. We're learning that more than ever right now with what we're all going through. And even just the news, like in the last 2 days, it feels like everything's kind of up in the air again. And so just knowing that, but these are strategies that have made a big difference for me. And I'm just going to read on the chat here, 2 special need teens to struggle to keep them on schedule and engaged. Yeah, it is really hard when especially with kids who really thrive when they understand routines and predictability and all of those things, and how to help my anxious 13-year-old find a way through anxiety and go outside more. I'm worried he'll try to spend the whole break on Minecraft. Okay, I have been there. I understand that. All right, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to kind of go back and forth because I think it can be boring to just stare at a presentation. And also I want to be able to see your faces, but we'll go back and forth. Okay, so the first kind of big tip that I have is to have a pre-break family meeting where everyone can really get their needs and their wants and their expectations out on the table. This is something you can do, and even if you don't have children, if you have a partner, if you have family and there's expectations about what's going to happen over this time, this is still really important to kind of get some clarity around the holidays. And if you're not also in the habit of having family meetings, I just want to give like a little PSA for family meetings. They are so valuable to have. You know, just kind of having like a regular weekly forum where you can check in. They don't have to be long, but where everyone has a chance in a positive way to share what's going on with them, to share what you appreciate about each other, to bring up things that are coming up or kind of go over the schedule. So family meetings, I'm a big fan of, short and sweet. We often bring candy to ours because that can make things a little more engaging for the kids. But I will say, if you're not doing these, the Positive Discipline website has a great kind of like one sheet on how to run good family meetings. So just wanted to throw that out there. But here's some guidelines for having a family meeting that can really support the break. Hold on one second. I got to make sure I can. There we go. Okay. So this is important to do it before the break begins. And I realize the break begins today for so many of us. So maybe tonight at the dinner table or tomorrow would be a great time to have this, but advanced planning can really go a long way in terms of setting those expectations that we may not know are even there. And so keeping it light and playful and positive, you know, again, we often bring treats. You can make it about playing games. You can just make it doesn't have to be like, oh, it's time for a family meeting. So just kind of keeping it light and playful. Just be upfront, like we really need to talk about what's happening over the holiday break. So just kind of be explicit about the why for that. And just so our kids know what to expect. This is really important, that we want everyone to get their have tos and their want tos out on the table. Even if they're unrealistic, even if they can't happen, it's those unspoken things that can cause the most trouble down the road. So when I think of have tos, these are things, you know, for kids, depending on their age, they may have homework like my child has some assignments to catch up on over the break. Some of our older kids might be prepping for tests, for SATs or the ACT or anything like that. For us, our have tos might be prepping the guest room for guests, or we might, you know, have been putting off cleaning out the garage. I don't have a garage, but I know that that's something a lot of people like to do over breaks like this, where we might have like a stack of bills that we've been putting off to go through. So we have these have tos, and then we also have want tos. I'm going to just stop sharing so I'm not just talking at a screen. So this is really about what is everyone's vision for how they want to spend, or what do they have in mind when they think about break. So someone mentioned Minecraft. That might be the vision, like in pajamas all day in my room playing Minecraft on Discord with my friends, right? They might be wanting to have tons of play dates, or, go ice skating, or, like we get these ideas from the media about what our holidays should look like. And these are things that our kids might really decide, oh, that's what we're going to be doing. And then for us, we have our own want-to-dos. My want-to-do list is really long. It involves binging some Great British Bake Off. Like, I am so into that show, and I like to choose a recipe from every episode and then try to recreate it. It's a bit of an obsession, I will be real, but that's something I really want to do. I also have, because we lived abroad for many years, I've got this box of all these keepsakes that I've just been moving around from place to place. And I really want to finally create like a little book so I can get rid of the box and have a book. So I have those kind of want-to-dos. I'm curious if you guys watching this have something, is there something when you think about the break that you're like, yeah, I'm going to cross this thing off of my list? If you feel comfortable sharing it in the chat, I'd love to know. Oh, thanks, Olga, for sharing the Positive Discipline article. It's such a great resource, Positive Discipline website. Yeah, anything? Get finances ready. Yes. Right? There's so much pressure to start the new year with the sense of like, everything's clean, everything's organized, and that's how we're going to move forward. But that takes a lot of work to actually do that, to get the finances ready, to do the budgets, to set all of those systems up. Oh, to repaint an old dresser. That sounds really nice. That sounds like creative, and you can listen to a book on tape. That sounds like a good one. So again, we want to share these things because sometimes our kids or other people, our partners or our family members, they have their own vision, and we may not know until it hasn't happened, or they lay it on us in the moment and we weren't prepared for it. And then it can really derail everything. So it's just important to get it all out and not kind of shoot things down as they come up. Another a scrapbook album. Yeah. Right? Like, that stuff is so satisfying to have that stuff done. All right, I'm going to share my screen again here. Okay. Again, be open to all the ideas. So this can be really, really hard because some of the ideas might be really out there. Like, I want to go to Disney World for a week. So, oh, that's really nice. You're really interested in going to Disney World. Like, don't shoot it down. Just listen, write it down. I think that is really important because, it's important for everyone to feel heard and seen, right? Doesn't mean we can do all the things. And then we want to figure out what is actually doable, and together, with emphasis on the word together, we want to collaborate and create a plan. Oh my gosh, this is such an incredible list of ideas. I wish we could do them all. Let's figure out what's possible and how we can kind of structure this break so everyone gets some of their needs met. It might be a bit of a business negotiation, like think about it like that, right? So how can everyone get a little bit of what they want? How can everyone feel like at least one of their big things is happening or their needs are being met? And we also want everyone to feel bought into the plan, right? Buy-in for a lot of our kids is really difficult, but it's really important to have because it can prevent a lot of the pushback that so many of us get. So holiday meeting, if you haven't done it, I encourage you to do it. I'm wondering, can you guys see the chat on my shared screen here too? Do you mind? Is that bothersome? Okay, because that way I can keep an eye on things. Okay. So, all right, let's move on to the next tip. I have too many devices that I'm using here. Okay. Make a holiday break calendar. This is super straightforward. This is something I do before any break, before a summer break, anytime that I do it all the time. Actually, I make calendars weekly and share them because it's just important. But this is really great to just have a break calendar for the next couple of weeks and print this out, create it with your kids, but really mark down or with your partner, with your family members, whoever you're spending time with, who might be affected by what's happening, or maybe just for yourself, right? Just so you can keep track of maybe this is when you're catching up on dentist appointments or doing things like that. Or maybe there is a chunk of travel. I often forget to put travel days on there, and then I leave my calendar open, and then a meeting has popped up and I'm like, crap, I'm not even going to be around. So it can be helpful to just have that visual. But anything that would impact a child's experience, friends coming over, going to grandma and grandpa's, picking up the tree, going to a church event, anything that is going to impact them, I would put on this calendar, and then just post it somewhere visible where everyone can see it. You might have multiple copies. If you have more than one kid, you might put one in each of their room, make it really visual. Or if it's just for you, or maybe you do it, my husband and I just share our calendar over Google. I have to remind him to actually look at it. So that's why having the printout can be really helpful. But we want to have that because the next strategy is tied to that, and that is to have a daily check-in over the break. And I really mean daily. Again, this isn't just for parents to do with kids. It is for us to do with our partners, because sometimes, I shouldn't be like talking about my husband always in the other room on meetings, but he doesn't often, remember, and I'll remind, remember we're doing this tonight. Oh my gosh, I had no idea I had this scheduled. So going over the calendar every single day, just for 2 minutes, can be so helpful. And so you're looking at what's happening today, and you're looking at what is happening over the whole week. And especially if you have kids who need multiple reminders, who are not, you could tell them one thing and then they don't remember, and you might have told them 5 times and they've even said, yes, I heard you. And then, I had no idea that was happening. Does anyone else ever experience that with their kids? So that is really important. So again, you want to go over the plan for the day, like what exactly is happening today and what is happening in your world that you might need to factor in, right? So we'll talk about this a little later, but this is important for you too, because making sure that you've built in the time that you need for yourself, whether it's to exercise or to take some time for yourself, just build in some quiet time for yourself. The things that we need to restore over the break this is part of like looking at the day. And so you can be mindful and intentional about that. And then you want to go over the plan for the week. Again, kids with lagging executive function skills will probably need more reminders. And we really want to reduce the chances that they are going to feel blindsided or just caught off guard by something that's happening, because that's when we can really run into problems. And then, any questions we want to ask our kids. All right, you understand what's happening. You might ask your child to what's the plan for today again? What did I say? And just have them actually verbalize it can be helpful. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen again. Okay. So I'm just curious, actually, if this is something that you all do. Do you do the family meetings? Do you do the calendar? Is this part of what you're doing? You could just mention in the chat if you do. And I will say that, this has been one of the most critical things that I've done that really helped us get through just really tricky breaks and times when we were homeschooling or when we didn't have schedules, because the littlest thing, right? Going to someone's house for dinner can throw everything off. And so when you plan for it, you can kind of start to lay the groundwork and do some proactive problem solving with our kids or humans who struggle with transitions, and just, I know that we're going to have to do this. I see that you are really involved in this Minecraft build or whatever it is. And I'm concerned that when I say it's time to go, it's going to be a problem. How can we make this transition smoother? So, this kind of gives us a chance to have a heads up and be more planful. You cover schedules during family dinner. You have a whiteboard in the kitchen. That's awesome. Yeah. And every family member has a color. Everything's color coded. Oh my gosh, Jennifer, you are totally my kind of person. That is awesome. Color coding is great. Yeah, vacation calendar and daily check-in. I will just say, with the vacation calendar, like when we would travel a lot and Asher was younger, I would make like a vacation book, like a PDF that I would print out that would have every day, here's the itinerary, and I'd have pictures, like here's where we're staying, and I'd have a picture of it, and here's the plan. Here's how much free time you're going to have. How do you want to use the free time? So it would all be laid out. So, and again, we would go over that every day, but that was really helpful for vacations, because the more visuals and the more reminders, the better. Okay. I'm going to go back to share my screen. Sorry, this is a little clunky going back and forth, but all right. So I wanted to just talk for a moment about unpredictability. And I love this picture because this is, we lived in Amsterdam for a number of years, and this is a rainstorm that we got caught in while we were biking home from something. And we just pulled over and stood under a tree and tried to wait it out. But it could come out of nowhere. And I like this because that's what our life is like right now, right? We can't plan for or predict everything that's going to happen, especially over the holidays, especially with this Omicron variant. Like our plans might change really suddenly. We might have to make decisions about travel. We might have family members drop by unexpectedly, and that can be enough to throw everything off, you know, a schedule that we had and that we had already gone over, and now that goes out the window. And so I just want to kind of bring that up. And if those things happen and you have a human in your world who really struggles with, you know, the unexpected kind of cropping up, I think it can be important to just have a couple of plans that might be reducing expectations in that moment. It might be telling your child, you know what, this is happening, but I notice you're really into this. You don't have to participate. Like, think about ways that you can try to help everyone adjust. I found that I used to be really rigid with things. And so I would, especially if it involved other people, right? Family members or other people, wanting my child to be a certain way or wanting our family to be a certain way. And that got me into trouble. So the more that we can just kind of lower our expectations and be more flexible ourselves when unpredictable things happen, that can help us get through those things more smoothly. It doesn't mean that our kids are going to roll with the punches. And like, being able to handle unexpected things is part of life, right? So this is also an opportunity to practice navigating when things kind of don't go the way we expected, and how are we going to get through that. Okay. I'm moving on to my next, this is probably my favorite tip that I talk about this season, and that is to cut your personal goals in half. So we talked earlier about the scrapbooks and the vacation book and all the things that we have on our to-do list. So I really get excited. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I get really excited about, like, oh my God, I have 2 weeks. I can do so many things. And I really love to organize and clean, and I like get really excited about all those things. And then what happens is I don't do most of those things, right? And then I end up starting the holiday feeling like a big failure, or starting the new year, right? Already in a deficit. Like, I didn't get all these things done. Now I'm behind on everything. I'm wondering if I'm the only one. If you are someone who gets overly ambitious about the holidays, maybe just say yes in the chat, because I'm curious about that. So I really like this strategy. Yes, guilty. Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's a really long time, and it's really like 2 weeks, 2.5, it's really not very long. And we're not like, I'm going to stop sharing again here for a minute. Most of us are not in great shape right now. Like, we're living in a global pandemic. We are burned out. We are having to roll with the punches. And I think, we're all here. We're doing a pretty good job of it. But we're not like in our best state. So I really like this idea of just like, you know what, I'm going to give myself a break, and I am going to just go through my list and cross off a bunch of things. And I did not practice this at all this week. I just want to say, like yesterday, like for some reason, Homework Cafe, right? The weekly meeting, I was like, Ash, you have to bring in cookies for everybody. Well, because I love to bake, but I spent hours baking. They were really amazing bakery style chocolate chip cookies, to be fair. Did that. And then I was like, oh, and you need to bring in baked goods for all of your teachers yesterday. So then I did so I did not follow my own advice. And I'm noticing that, and I'm just trying to understand, okay, Debbie, this is an area for you to keep working on. But I have crossed some things off. So if you find that you're putting extra pressure on yourself, even if it's not your want to do's, but you know, we often have this idea or expectations from other people that we have to do these things. And sometimes it can be really nice to just write them down and be like, is it really true that I have to do this? Do I need to, you know, do this, and this, donate this? And I donated blood the other day, which I was happy to do, but did I need to do it on a really busy week? Maybe not. Right. So, I encourage you to be really honest with yourself and to challenge if you have some really strongly held beliefs around things that you should be doing or you have to do, just, you know, question that a little bit. I will say that my motto for 2021 was lower the bar. I think I'm holding on to that as we move into 2022. And fair enough. My kid has food, shelter, you know, like we're doing okay here, right? And so I think lowering the bar and giving ourselves a break can be really a gift to ourselves. It's the gift that keeps on giving. All right, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so related to that is to build in at least one you item every single day. And so if you're someone who listens to my podcast or you're familiar with my work, I talk a lot about this idea of self-care. I don't like the language of self-care because I feel like it just sounds like an Oprah article and very cliche and like about going to the spa. So the language I'm using now is conscious self-maintenance, because that's really what we're talking about. And this is just something I feel so strongly about. It's something I've always felt strongly about. I'm a runner. I've been running for over 30 years. I'm very aware of what that does to support my mental and emotional well-being. I realize that when I am sick and I can't run, and I become a horrible person to live with. You can ask my husband and my child, but it's so important that we do this for ourselves. And if you are someone who, you know, because of your schedule, or, you know, you have you're juggling a lot of plates in your world, taking care of yourself and building in at least one item a day that's just for you might be really hard. But I don't think it's an optional thing. I'm kind of curious, actually, if you want to just share in the chat, is this something like, if you are someone who is really good about self-care and taking care of yourself, say yes in the chat. If you're someone who this is an area of growth for you, you could just let me know, because I'm curious to know where. Sometimes when I talk to big groups of parents, especially, this is one area where as soon as I start talking about self-care, I get like teary. I see tears in eyes of audience members, because they recognize that they're neglecting themselves, and they know that they, you know, then they feel guilty because they know they quote unquote should be doing more and they're not, and like or they feel guilty about wanting to take care of themselves that could take time away from their family, their child. So I recognize that it's tricky. But again, especially, you know, for parents, and especially for parents of differently wired kids who often are just so they're burned out. We're very busy and very preoccupied with, all of the things that we're trying to keep straight, or the therapies or the IEP meetings or the, all of these different pieces. And then just living with little humans who can be more intense. So this is not an optional thing. And I see it's an area of growth for some of you in the chat. So I want to give you my definition of self-care. So you know what I'm talking about here, because it's not a big thing. It is, I define it as something that you do that is, number one, intentional, and number two is just for you. So the intentional piece is really important because it's about, I said conscious self-maintenance. It's about consciously making the choice to do something for yourself that you know is good for you, for your mind, for your body, for your soul, for your being. So it's not an afterthought. You might already be doing things that would fall under the self-care bucket. I mean, taking a shower is self-care, really, right? But there's something about the intentionality that you're like, I am doing this because I matter. I'm doing this because I want to prioritize myself. So that intentionality piece is really important. And it's part of what helps us get out of that mindset too, that something is happening to us, right? Or that we're not in control of our days or our experience. And instead we're creating what's happening to us, even if it's just on a small level. So that's the intentional piece. The just for you piece means that it is something that is about you. It doesn't mean that no one else can be with you. Like your self-care might be putting on Justin Timberlake's Can't Stop This Feeling. Doesn't everyone love that song? I mean, that is like the best song ever. Anyway, sorry, I can put that on and I will just start dancing like full. But say I put that on, I start dancing and my family joins me. Doesn't usually happen. More often my husband's trying to videotape me to use as blackmail down the road. But say your family joins you in that dance party, that's still self-care because you intentionally put on that music and you were doing it for yourself. So other people can be along for the ride. That's totally fine. Let me stop sharing for a second. So yeah, so it's really about creating that experience. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It might be, like I said, dancing to Justin Timberlake. I'm really into show tunes. And have you all watched Tick, Tick, Boom? Is anyone else into musical theater? Rent, Jonathan Larson, Tick, Tick, Boom. Anyway, that is like my new self-care thing. So could be a hot shower. It could be a little nap. It could be just calling a friend and talking on the phone. Like it doesn't have to be a big thing. So I'm wondering, if you have something that you love to do, like share it in the chat. Like what is something that you would consider self-care in your world? Oh yeah, getting my nails done. That sounds so nice. I haven't done anything like that since March 2020. Like I haven't had another human who wasn't like in my family, like touch my body, like a massage. What is that even like anymore? Yeah, I mean, just, it really could be anything. So I imagine you're doing things already, but even just deciding, oh, this is my self-care thing, that can make like that intentional piece and knowing why you're doing it can actually change the experience for you. Yeah, going for walks by myself every morning and having a moment for me at Starbucks. That's nice. Ooh, shopping by yourself. That is a good gift. I'm a big, like I said, I'm a runner, but I also walk while listening to a podcast, or, self-care might be doing, like if I'm have to do laundry, I don't mind folding laundry, but if I'm watching, something on Netflix whilst folding laundry, then it's like total win. It's a bit of self-care. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. I wanted to show you something here. Okay, I made this years ago. I worked with a life coach a long time ago. I think when Ash was maybe 5 or 6, and I was really in the thick of things, and things were challenging. My day-to-day life was extremely challenging and exhausting. And this coach was like, you need to be doing more for yourself. And I didn't have the habits. Like I did run, but I wasn't, but if I got stressed, I wasn't like, I just wasn't prioritizing this. So she had me make a list of things that for me qualified as self-care. And this is what I came up with, that I did yoga or I exercised, that I wrote, did some creative writing, like in my journal, listening to music that I really love, 30 minutes of reading for pleasure. Oh my gosh, what an indulgence, right? Taking a nap. I can't nap anymore. That is something that unfortunately, as I have gotten older, I try, it doesn't work. And then drinking water, like just staying hydrated I was like, okay, that's self-care because I need to be conscious about it. So I made this check sheet and I printed it out and I would just keep it on my desk. And that way, like at the end of the day or like late afternoon, I'd look and I'd be like, oh crap, I haven't done anything yet today. I need to consciously do at least one of these. And so it was like a visual reminder to do something. And I like crossing things off and filling out forms. So this was really worked for me. But just wanted to throw that out there. Sometimes we do have to be really intentional about making the time and saying, okay, I'm going to do one thing a day. So if you've got your list, just make sure you choose one of those a day and see what happens. That's how I'm just reading the chat here. Yeah. Reading a book is more intentional than sitting down to watch TV. It is. I've been doing it again, Olga, and it has been like, it's ridiculously like satisfying to not have the TV on and just like, I read in bed every night, but I'm asleep so quickly, but to just like sit down with the book. Oh, it's so nice. Okay. Let me move on here. Okay. So expect wild and unpredictable energy and make a plan for dealing with it. So again, this is especially for those of us who are living with people who may struggle with their own emotional regulation over the holidays. It doesn't have to be our kids. It could be our partner. It could be people that we're visiting with. It could be, our strange cousin who visits us over the break. It could be any people that we're interacting with. But I will say that what I've observed is that so much of the challenge and frustration and overwhelm that many of us feel over breaks like this is because, we have this expectation and then the reality of what is actually happening. And it's that kind of disconnect between our vision and our expectations that can cause us trouble. So let me stop sharing again here. So sorry, and now I'm getting distracted by the chat. Okay, it's about being able to watch what I want when the girls go to bed. That's also really awesome. Yes, I'm like, we've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That's our show right now. I don't know if y'all have watched that. It's hilarious. I'm so grateful for comedy. Oh my goodness. But we watch an episode at 10:30 and then it's 11 and then, Darren and Asher still read together every night and they're kind of lingering. I'm like, can you guys just go downstairs now? Like, I'm just leave. Like, I just want to watch something on my own for a little bit. So I totally get that. Okay. Sorry. Sidetracked. Preparing for unexpected things. So this is really, again, about reframing our expectations and getting real about them so that we can just roll with the punches a little better when and if things fall to pieces. For me, what I'm talking about is coming up with some healthy thoughts ahead of time so that if things go off the rails, if something happens, I've already kind of planned for that by coming up with a mantra or a thought that I can turn to, and that's going to help me calm my nervous system. It's going to help me reframe the thought because we know that the way that we feel is a result of our thinking, right? So this is kind of proactively creating healthy thoughts. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to give you an example. Okay. So this is the kind of thing that I might come up with, but it can really be about anything. But holiday breaks, it can be super dysregulating for my child because we've changed up every routine and schedule. That must be so challenging for them, right? So if I can kind of just like, this is the reality, this is a hard time for my human. because everything's different right now. And that is really hard. So I'm not sugarcoating things. I'm not saying this holiday break is awesome, but there's something about just like being real and honest about what can be challenging, and just, not awfulizing that, what's going on. Like, oh my God, this is the worst. I can't stand it. This is terrible. I hate this so much. I can't function in this. We can, through the language that we use, we can really work ourselves up and get very upset. And that's going to change the way that we show up with our kids or with our partner or with our family members. And so if we can come up with ahead of time some sort of really positive replacement thought, like one solid script that can kind of be like a catch-all for the holiday break, you kind of have that in your back pocket, right? So if things do not go well, or you have some rough moments, you can be like, okay, yes, this is really hard, and this is a hard time, and we're all doing the best we can, right? So just some language that doesn't like make us spin. So that solid script, I'm a big fan of writing out scripts so that I can remind myself, because when we're triggered, when our nervous system's triggered, it's hard to remember those things. It's a lot easier to give into, this is terrible. I can't do this. This is too hard. I have to get in my car and drive away, right? So we want to kind of think about this when we're not in the moment, and come up with something that just reminds ourselves, oh yeah, this isn't so unexpected. This is a really hard situation. I get it. That can really help us in the moment. So if this is resonating for you, I encourage you to think about what that script might be, and actually just write it down somewhere and put it on a Post-it, stick it somewhere where you'll see it, on your bedside table or something, so that you've got that if you need it. Okay. Next strategy. Am I doing okay time-wise here, Olga? Yeah, okay. It's to ask for what you need from people who are able to help you, right? So just like I said in the very beginning, I signed my child up for camps because I really needed that time. If you are someone who's feeling really burnt out right now, and you're worried going into this break about how you're going to make it through, I really encourage you to think about, are there ways that I can get support from people who are around me? And this could look so many different ways. And I will just say this is an area that I've always struggled with, because, well, for most of my life, my adult life, I haven't lived near family. When I became a mother, we lived 3,000 miles away from my family. And then we moved to Europe, and we're 3,000 miles away on the other side. And so I've never really had like family nearby to ask. And I felt so bad asking friends for help. I've worked on that. It's gotten a little easier, but oftentimes we have people in our world who would love to help, but they're not going to think, oh gosh, I think Debbie really needs some help right now. Let me offer that help. So if you need something right now, and again, this isn't just for parents or caregivers. This might be that you're really just struggling. Maybe you could really use some help getting something organized, and you know someone who's really good at organizing bills or financial stuff, or whatever it is. Like, people are often happy to help if we ask them. And so if there's something that you're struggling with right now, I would really kind of encourage you to think about your ecosystem and the people in your world. And if you're feeling reluctant about asking, like, push yourself a little bit and get some support. It might be a cleaning person. There's a whole thread on a Facebook group I'm in about cleaning person. I'm like, oh my gosh, we do not have a cleaning person. That sounds amazing to me. And that would buy me back a lot of time to have someone, even just once, come and do a deep clean. Whew. So I'm thinking about that, but it doesn't have to be a friend. It could be like a service, or, like a company. There might just be someone that you could help you lighten your burden a little bit. Could be sending your kid to someone's house for a couple of hours, just so you can go shopping and get some things done. So whatever that is. All right. I'm just going to throw this out there. This is really mostly for parents. And how did I know that Minecraft was going to come up? So I will just say that screen time is, we could do a whole talk about screen time, and you probably have done whole talks about screen time. But I feel like our relationship with screen time has changed because of COVID, and we have kind of loosened our guidelines a little bit. So if you are someone who is really highly managing your child's screen time closely, if you're looking at minutes or days or, hours a day or whatever that is, I just want to invite you to consider loosening up those regulations over break, or at least on an as needed basis. And I'm just going to share this little story from when Ash was little, because I will just say screen time has almost taken our family down, like the battles over screen time. It has really been a struggle. It isn't anymore, but it was for a long time. So this is Ash as a little human, and we were living in Seattle, and we were just introducing salad foods, and I decided I needed to make all of the baby food, organic baby food, homemade, all of it, because I was living in Seattle. That's what everybody did in Seattle. And I didn't want to be shamed or judged for not making homemade organic baby food. And I had my own meltdown, and my husband was like, "What are you doing? Why are you making all the food? Go to the store, buy some it's going to be fine. A couple jars of food." Anyway, as soon as I made that realization, I just felt so much better. And it was so much pressure that I was putting on myself that nobody else was. And really, I think that the canned food was just going to be just fine, right? But I was making it to be such a big thing. So I just wanted to share that story. So I'm going to move my computer because this is the time of day when the sunlight starts to shine right on my face. Not that I'm complaining that it's sunny, but so I wanted to share that story because I think this is what a lot of us do with screen time, right? We're driven by fear. We read studies. We're concerned about this, and also it doesn't just always feel good, right? We don't like the way our kids are after screen time or during screen time. And again, going back to the lower the bar thing, I just think our whole relationships with screen time as a society are changing, right? And the way that our kids use screen time, and also all screen time is not created equal. I just want to say, if this is an area where you're feeling a lot of resistance around and you're noticing it's creating tension, because of what is worse than monitoring your child's screen time? I mean, it is soul crushing. Setting timers, reminders, and then the battles, and it creates so much challenge. So if you're noticing that, I'm gonna just encourage you to be a little looser over break, to give your child less of that conflict interaction, and also just give yourself a little more time to do one of those, conscious self-maintenance things on your list. So, and also so many of our kids, their social life is so tied online. I mean, my child doesn't have any friends in person here. It's all done over Discord and Zoom and all of those things. And that's okay. So if you can buy a little more peace and joy in your world over this break, that would be my suggestion about screen times. I'm happy to talk about screen time a little more if that's something that you have questions about, but just wanted to throw that out there. All right, I'm going to go back here. Okay, so this is one of my favorite strategies, to ditch the plan and change things up. This is my last strategy, and then we'll do some Q&A. But I just want to say, like we talked about the unpredictable wild energy, we talked about the unusual drop-ins from family or like plans changing. Sometimes we just need to be able to say, you know what, we had all this plan, we talked about it. We're meeting so-and-so to go ice skating at this time, or we made this plan. And sometimes we just realized, you know what, this is not going to happen today. And that is okay. And I think so many of us, especially if there are other people involved, other family members, we can get really entrenched and dug in. No, we're doing this, and we push forward. And sometimes that is not the best thing for our family and for ourselves. And so if you are noticing that things in your world are starting to deteriorate in your family, the general tone, things you can just tell, like we can get a little glimpse of that, like, uh-oh, this is going to be one of those days, or my child is really dysregulated, or I'm feeling really stressed about what's going on. I just encourage you to give yourself permission to be really self-compassionate, to set some boundaries for yourself, and just say, you know what, this isn't going to happen today, and that's okay. Not judge yourself for that. Just make the decision and surrender to it. And then sometimes do something completely different and unexpected. And you might want to, this is something I used to do a lot when we homeschooled, like come up with a list of activities or things to do that you know are enjoyable, relaxing, fun for you or for your family. So that if you do have to like abandon mission, and then you've got nothing, right? Well, this was our whole plan. Now we have nothing to do. That you have this list of things that you could go to. So, you know, when I was homeschooling, this might have been like, all right, we were going to go to this museum, or we were going to do this, but I can tell that's not happening today. Hey, it's pajama day. I'm going to make hot chocolate. Let's watch a movie together. And that might mean me also, you know, not doing the work I had planned to do. But again, it's really about just saying, giving yourself permission to say, we're starting over. We're going to start tomorrow. We're going to, you know, wipe today, the slate clean. We're going to do what we need to do today. We're going to do something fun, something that feels comfortable or cozy, or whatever it is that our kids or that we need to get through that day. And then we'll start over again tomorrow. But the more we kind of dig in our heels to push forward our agenda, when you know, all signs are saying, you know, do not pass go, the more we're kind of really creating a perfect storm for ourselves. And so just kind of going into the holidays knowing, you know what, I'm going to be gentle with myself if I need to cancel. If I need to say, you know what, I'm sorry, we are actually not coming to your holiday party because it's not the best thing for my family right now. We get to do that. It's totally fine for us to do that. So anyway, again, like that pro tip is to be proactive about coming up with a couple of ideas of things that you might do, so that if you have this kind of day, you have a plan ahead of time. So, all right, that's my last tip. I'm just going to share this little contact slide too, and then I'm happy to take questions. But I hope this has been helpful to give you some ideas for just, having a more smooth, intentional holiday break. I will say that my goal, stop sharing my screen here. My personal, it's not really a goal, but I guess the intention that I've been setting for this holiday season is I really want to create more spaciousness in my world. And so I just like, that's actually my word. That's the word that I'm kind of holding on to. So I'm trying to, even as I sit down to do something, or I'm like, okay, I've got to run out and do this errand, and I've got to do this, and this. I'm trying to just give myself permission to pause and say, okay, do I really want to do this? Am I just doing it because it was the plan I had, but it's not how I should be spending this time? So I'm trying to just slow down and do more check-ins with myself and just ask, is this, the best use of my time? Am I being true to myself? Have I set a boundary that feels really good? Just kind of just being more intentional about all of that. So Yeah, that's kind of my focus. If you guys were to so I'm happy to take questions. I've been kind of keeping an eye on here, so I haven't seen any questions. But I'm curious if you were to come up with not a word for the new year, because that's a whole different thing. But if you were to come up with a word that would kind of capture what you want to create for yourself and your family over the holiday break. Do you have a word for yourself?
I would love to be just present in the moment. I think I work so hard planning everything and wanting everything to be perfect that when it finally comes, I'm so exhausted that I'm just like not even enjoying the moment. So I think just being present would be a really nice goal for myself. Even that's a goal, right? Being present.
I love that goal though. I mean, that's what it's all about. And you know, being present for everything, you know, especially, you know, if you have kids, like being present with them, that's a game changer, you know, like just really just being there and watching them play Portal 2 and being interested, even though you have no idea what's going on. That's a gift for everybody. Yeah, that's cool. Do you know, I'm curious how you, like, do you have how do you do that? Do you kind of set your device to the side? Do you just kind of check in with yourself and say, oh, I'm just going to be here?
I have a 1-year-old, so I'm not even at that point where they're annoying me that much yet. No, I'm just kidding. But I feel like I try my hardest to keep my phone down. I'm constantly on my husband's, put his phone away. But I think it's just realizing how fast this year went that has caused me to be like, oh my gosh, I missed it. It went by in like a flash. So constantly reminding myself.
Yeah. There's a talk or a course that it comes out of Yale, and it's the science of well-being. I think it's it's a free course you can do through Coursera or something. And it's their most popular course that they've of any like virtual class. And so I had gone through that with Asher actually last year, and they taught, one of the lessons was just about savoring things, and so that's something that really helps to be in the moment. And it's so easy with this time of year because there's so much like food to savor, you know, but like just in the moment, if you're eating something that's amazing, just being like, oh my God, I'm just going to enjoy the hell out of this gelato or whatever it is. This isn't gelato season, but you know what I mean? Just kind of savoring that is one way to really be present, and could be savoring a sunset or savoring a sunny day, sitting in the sun. All of those things are really helpful. Yeah, that's a great goal. All right, let me, peace is a goal, peaceful, drama-free. That sounds great. Do I have advice on how to tackle the break if the drama is high, patience is low, peace feels gone between you and your child during the holidays? I know the challenge can be a few good days and then the peak of challenge feeling, how will we finish the last few days? Yeah. Yeah, how do I regroup? That's a really good question. And I talk often about pushing the kind of virtual reset button, because we can often get in a really bad cycle. And then unless we kind of stop, you know, consciously stop what's going on and give everyone a fresh start, it can be not so great. And also, I think a lot of us can hold, well, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I know that I can have a hard time letting go of things, right? So even if the behaviors change, I'm still bringing my annoyance and frustration with me. So, you know, to push the emergency reset button, you know, one of the things I do is I start trying to end every day by looking for bright spots, like writing down 3 bright spots from the day. Sometimes they're really hard to find, but it's different than a gratitude, you know, journal or something. It's really, and this could be in relation to your child, right? Like, what are 3 wins from today? Could be, you know, I only had to remind my child twice to, you know, hang up their coat, or, you know, like, or they actually played nicely with their sibling for 10 whole minutes. Like, oh my gosh, total bright spot. So, you know, writing those things down can help reframe. I also really recommend coming up with a reset ritual for yourself, like something that you can do to just kind of cleanse that energy off of yourself and start the next day over. It could be like a physical thing, like stomping on the ground or like dancing it out or exercising or going for a long walk. And then, you might want to do that every day. So some way to kind of really release that. For me, I wrote about this in my book, Differently Wired, but like I used to, when Asher was little, and again, we were like things were really more challenging. I used to go into the bedroom at night when Ash was asleep and just kind of, first of all, there's nothing better than like a child with ADHD who's asleep. So I would enjoy that and be present for that. But I also would really I'd have like a silent conversation with Asher, like I would just, I love you. I'm so grateful to be your parent. And, I wasn't verbalizing, but I was really feeling those things. And I would just have this like peaceful, quiet connection moment. And that was so helpful for me to just do that every night before I went to bed. And because it helped me just remember this is like a human that I have the honor of parenting, and they're on this incredible journey and they're doing the best that they can. And, I just want to show up and be there for them. So for me, that was like a reset ritual that I started doing. It's also okay to just like say, you know what, like I said, throwing out the plans, like this is not going well. This break has been really tough. And I'm noticing, X, Y, and Z. So we are going to throw out again, all the plans. And today we're just going to, and then whatever it is, like do something together that feels silly, have a pajama day, have a day like a reverse roles day, like think about ways to really shake things up to bring in more laughter or silliness, something to kind of reset that dynamic. And then show up the next day, set an intention for how you want to be as a parent, as a human, how you want to be in relationship with the people that you live with, and do the best you can. Then it doesn't go well, it's okay. Think about your bright spots, do your reset ritual, start the next day fresh with that intention. So it's a conscious thing that we want to do, but I think even modeling that for our kids is so helpful. Modeling that we all have hard days, and that there are things we can do to help ourselves kind of reset. Thanks for that question. Any other questions about really anything? I'm happy to. Are y'all feeling prepared, excited, looking forward to the break? Yeah. I was telling Olga that we're coming to the DC area for a few days. That's the plan anyway. We'll see what happens. And we're going to be tourists for a few days. I'm pretty excited. Yeah, excited and nervous. Yeah. That sounds about right. Yeah.
Well, Debbie, thank you. I'm going to apologize. You can probably hear my dog snoring. So you guys hear that? It's the dog. It's the bulldog sleeping next to me. But I really appreciate this. This was a wonderful talk. I think this is something that we can take with us, whether we have a 1-year-old or a 28-year-old. Dealing with longer breaks together can be difficult, and just having these little tricks in our back pockets are really, really a gift, honestly, for all of us. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your time with us, your knowledge, answering questions, being a resource, being a support tool for all of us. And all of you, thank you so much for coming. I know it's right before the holidays, and so time is very limited. So appreciate you coming. Hope you got something beneficial out of this as well. I will send you all the recordings so that way you can look back on it. You will have the slides within the recording. Feel free to share it with family, friends, those that you work with, and have a beautiful, memorable holiday season that is peaceful. I think that was the big word that many of us used today. So peaceful and full of joy and resets if needed.
Thank you,
so
everyone.
much.
Thanks for inviting me,
Wonderful.
Olga.
Mona, good to see you. Hopefully I'll see you soon. Olga, thank you. Debbie, wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, everybody. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.